Welcome to Self-Helpful. I'm your guide, Kevin Miller, and I curate the sea of new personal development messages to bring the most influential leaders onto this show. Join me as I question my guests to better understand their counsel so we can all integrate the wisdom into our lives, because we all want to elevate our own experience and improve the way we show up for others. The Self-Helpful Podcast is presented by Ziglar, your premier source for equipping coaches. Visit Ziglar.com. Hello, Self-Helpful listeners. This is a peak wellness episode where we seek to strengthen our bodies, our foundations, and build our lives on top of them. In this episode, how to make peace with food and your eating habits. I'm continuing on with the question listeners answered about what health issue they'd most like a magic pill for. And we had so many responses about food issues. People shared they'd want help enjoying healthier food, help not wanting to eat so much, help losing weight. What we kick off the show with is the stark reality that food is our number one drug, and we can't quit it. It is so much more powerful and problematic than we understand. Truthfully, this episode is possibly top of the list of importance regarding our quest for better health and wellness. We want to be able to enjoy our food, not be scared of or feel guilty about it or suffer from it. So still on this magic pill question that we ask, if you had a magic pill to cure anything, what would it be? And so many people, and I'm going to have us read through some of them, cited food issues. But before we get into their comments and start responding, I just want to hit that thing that you and I talk about so often, that here we are talking about so often screens. Screens as parents, it's such a big thing right now with the youth. They're doing their screens, they're getting their dopamine hit, right? Simon Sinek did that video that went viral on millennials and how they're getting that dopamine hit. And, we got kids who now don't even have the patience to watch a movie because it's not as quick as the memes or the social media or whatever, but it's a drug. When we look at that, it's a drug. Okay. That's my premise in the saying, but food is our number one drug.
Yeah.
And it's legal and you can't stop it.
Right. You can stop a screen, but you can't stop.
Think of
food.
any addiction, literally any drug. What drug can you not stop? If it's meth or alcohol or whatever, sex. You don't actually have to have it.
Right.
I've never contemplated not, but you don't have, there's nothing that you can't, you can do away with just about anything. But from a drug standpoint, food, we're stuck. We have to have it. And it is our number one drug. And we here in America are killing ourselves.
Yeah.
If we took away the dopamine hit of food, it would probably cure most of our 5 trillion are we at now? Healthcare, issue. Yeah. We are so led by our appetites. I am too. We talk about that. Yeah. We are too. We're not sitting here saying we're not. But my gosh, no doubt. If I could have a magic pill, and so that's what people cited, and we'll get into, and they're saying, if I could just eat correctly, because it's so hard because my taste buds. Yeah. And what are they? So we put something on our. Actually, it's more than that. Just the thought of food gives me a little dopamine hit.
Right now.
And I keep saying dopamine, but there's 5 different chemicals, that feel good chemicals or something like that.
I would say it's even more complex than that, right? You're not going to distill all of human thought and feeling and mood and mindfulness to 5 chemicals, right? Like even in my webinar, when we're introducing people to the concept of food and what is food for, we throw up a slide and it says, well, it's for, you could just straight up biochemistry, whatever food does in your body and protein and whatever else. I'd say number one, it's a gift of enjoyment, a social connection point that, we could debate about, what is the number one thing about food? Well, to keep you alive. Well, okay. But if life is just, being alive in a concentration camp, they had food too. So it's so complex.
Well, so let me play around with the drugs though. What if we think about, I wake up in the morning, I've just been dwelling on this. I wake up in the morning and my first and continual thought is, I know this sounds bad, but it's pleasing myself. It's what's going to inspire me. What am I going to enjoy? And hopefully it's my getting up early and devotions. And those are good things. Those are good, but it's still an appetite. It's still feeding something in you.
I know, but you cultivated that appetite. Nobody is born naturally doing devotion.
I elevated the appetite to a life-giving instead of a life-taking away appetite. But I am still, thank God,
Okay, this, I think we're hitting on what John Piper calls Christian hedonism.
Okay.
All right. So hedonistic, right, is a very negative word, and it's built around filling your appetites in a very, worldly, dangerous kind of a way. And he turns it on his head and says, and his phrase that he always says is, God is most glorified in us when we are most satisfied in him. Our relationship with God is filling an appetite. So that's what I'm saying.
So okay, but that's a good satisfaction. That's great.
Okay. But we want to cultivate that appetite.
Yeah. But as opposed to, if you're going to use the Christianese aspect as dying to self, which I know it's in the Bible, it's impossible.
But that's my point, to turn it on its head.
Okay, turn it on its head. But I don't,
because when Jesus said that, he said, if you seek to find your life, you'll lose it. But if you, right? So at the end, it gets turned on its head. So wait a minute, you're saying the true way to fulfill my absolute worldly, fleshly appetite is to die to self. Because then I truly live.
Oh, I know, and that's where I feel like it's impossible.
The same thing happens with food. And this is such a rich, deep topic. Mm-hmm. And in church, we were just going through John 4, 5, and 6, and it's, the whole, Jesus referring to manna in the desert, and then he says, unless you eat me.
Yeah.
Well, and then most of his disciples left. He said, this is a hard saying. You're crazy. We're out of here.
You're a loon.
Yeah. And I mean, of course, he didn't mean eat my finger.
Yeah.
But then the bringing in of the eating of fasting, right? Like we play with these words all the time, where, Kevin, you have not satisfied your appetite for the biochemistry that you can only get with fasting. You are starving to death for fasting. Okay.
And I'm saying that even when you're fasting, as you have grown,
am I satisfying an appetite?
Well, but you have grown a relationship with fasting to now it's giving you another dopamine hit somewhere.
Shame on me.
Shame on me. But that's what I'm saying. It's not. But can we upgrade our dopamine hit to a life? I can get dopamine from I can be a serial killer and get my dopamine from giving death.
Yes.
Or I can be over here going, okay, I still want dopamine, but I'm going to Gandhi.
Give life.
I'm going to give life.
Yeah.
So in that, with food, I mean, we are going to get something out of it. Even the thought of it is, to me at night, especially, it's celebratory. It's family and music. And that, I'm not even thinking about the taste buds. I'm just
the event.
So there we go. So we have all this dopamine around. So no wonder it is and always will be a struggle to some degree.
Absolutely. Yes.
And so to everything that people are putting out here, man, I get it. I struggle with shame, I think, for how much I do think about what I'm going to put in my mouth, from tea that I'm trying to upgrade to, tea, coffee. I don't get a whole lot out of water. That's just such a must thing for me, but I do it.
I actually, Marcy shamed me. Yeah. Well, in a loving way. Can you do that? Because I bought some Topo Chico.
Never heard of it.
Topo Chico? Is you had a Topo Chico with me when we were in San Antonio with our friends down there, and it's bubbly water. It's from a mineral, a spring in Mexico.
Okay. And
so Topo Chico, and it's Perrier from France, Topo Chico. Yeah. And anyway, kind of pricey or whatever else, but I like it with the lime, and I'm not doing as much wine and trying to upgrade my appetites, right? Where I'm choosing to be more satisfied with a mineral water.
Yeah.
But you can't just go around drinking gallons of mineral water at, it's more expensive than, it's just like wine practically. So anyway, you doing tea, I'm trying to do Topo Chico.
I told you we got SodaStream.
Yeah.
It's worked.
Well, I'm debating but it's just carbonation. You're not getting mineral water.
No.
You could buy still mineral water and then carbonate it.
Yeah.
There's some value to the mineral water.
At this point, for our family, it keeps us from buying, oh my gosh, cans
Perrier,
and cans and cans of
LaCroix,
seltzer water and just the waste of that.
We're where you were last year, of playing around with LaCroix and Perrier and those kind of things to, get the kids to not want some kind of sweet whatever drink. It's like, okay, it's like the hint lady. We're kind of bored with water. Well, let's not go to Coke. Let's not go to. They like stevia, Zevia.
There's
Coke
both,
with Zevia, stevia.
Oh yeah.
And so anyway, we got off track there on water. Well, I never look forward to water. You're right.
I don't look forward to water, but I mean, pretty much everything I'm thinking about.
But hang on.
What?
I bet you have never been a full day without water.
No.
Okay, imagine fasting of water.
Yeah.
And imagine, remember that movie of the guy that got his arm chopped off in the desert, and when he just found that mud puddle and dumped his face into it? I've never been there. He was looking forward to water.
Yeah.
So we've never been, and there again, if you lived in the desert, if you lived in a culture where water was scarce, then imagine the addictiveness or drugginess of water.
Yeah.
But we live in a culture where it's not scarce.
I was going to say there's nothing.
Nothing is scarce.
Nothing is scarce. So
God, please bring us scarcity.
We're up here at 90, or we're at the office here.
Oxygen is scarce.
Yeah, oxygen is scarce. 8,500 feet above sea level, up in the Rockies, in this little town that has 3,500 households or something like that.
Yeah.
Almost nothing we can't get our hands on, even though it may be lower quality, depending on the item.
We still don't have to go down to a real city.
I can go get a blueberry. I can get sushi.
I can get organic blueberries up here.
Really? I can get
all year.
I mean, again, there it is. Anything. And so here I am. And unlike my grandparents and great grandparents who they didn't have to worry about this, because in the morning there's some grain, a little milk from Bessie. And
you got to cook the grain for 30 minutes.
Yeah. And now here we are. So, let's run through some. Sally Stone King, she says, I want a magic pill to make me like healthy foods. Okay, I get that. My first thought, though, is my experience, even as a kid, was when you think of healthy foods, you think they don't taste as well because people make it so bland.
Well, yeah, when she said that, my first thought was, okay, what's healthy?
Well, that's healthy. Yeah. Okay. But going to that, if you're used to obviously fast food, if you're used to processed food, if you're used to, just eating out, Mexican food, Italian food, whatever, and then you go have the healthy meal, it means you go get a potato,
cardboard, bland,
some chicken and
plain broccoli,
whatever. And oh my gosh, how boring is that?
And if you're not looking food for it, it's her equivalent of water.
Yeah, exactly.
Plain old water.
Okay. Now, that said, you and I last night we had all from scratch stir fry. So
we did too.
Did you? Brown rice, stir fry vegetables, broccoli and peppers and I don't even know.
We actually, I'm putting Brussels sprouts in stir fry.
Oh, I did too. And then we did one with tofu for the vegans and one with little shrimp for the non-vegans just to do. And then we used I used a peanut Thai sauce.
We did a soy based with the oil the sesame oil.
Yeah.
And here it's interesting that you bring that up because last night, I have been really striving. So I'm doing one meal a day for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah. So
one meal a day, and then just distinctly trying to cut less carbs and rice. I would just have a mound of rice on a stir fry. So I'm having a normal helping of rice and a mound of vegetables.
Yeah.
So we essentially doubled our vegetables for my sake. And Sagan last night, my son said, he just turned his nose up at me because my plate looked like only vegetables. Mm-hmm. He's like, why do you do that?
What is wrong with you, Dad?
I'm like, it just was, I was crestfallen because, over there, I had to bribe him. In fact, last night, it was a punishment kind of a thing of, you didn't eat you didn't eat your vegetables. So of course we're not having dessert.
Yeah.
Or
you're going to enjoy those for breakfast. that was what we did a lot. Well, but granted with kids stuff, but for the average adult, like for Sally right here, I always wonder how, you and I also, let me ask you this. Do you think of yourself, you have titles in your life. You're a doctor. You're a husband. You're a father. You're an athlete. We talked about that. We did a show on athlete. But
How do you see yourself?
But you've been a lifetime athlete. Yada, yada. Do you think of yourself, have you ever said, I'm a cook?
Yes, I do.
Do you? Okay.
But it's funny because Marcy would not. She would say, "No, you don't."
But my kids,
But
think
I
you
see
make,
myself
my kids
as-
think you make the best oatmeal on
Yeah,
the
that's
planet.
right. I earned another title.
All that you do. And every night you're telling me, yeah, we did, poke bowl. What do you call that? The poke.
The poke bowl?
Whatever. You do that, or you do stir fry, or you do steak, or you know how to grill steak, you know how to do salmon. So if I give you ingredients, you know how to make a good tasting, healthy meal, but you may not think of but man, on the average, because that's one of the things that people talk about. That's why they have the meal delivery companies that are wanting to advertise on my show, Blue Apron and Health.
Because people just don't know how to do it.
Green Chef and yada, yada, because they don't know where did they learn to cook? So if to eat healthy food and to eat it, well, you can do that. You can pay out the wazoo. That is an option.
Yep.
And get Blue Apron, or I have another one that I think I'm getting ready to promote. You can do that. It costs a lot. And for my family, it's hard to get enough food. Or you make the sacrifice, the investment.
Yeah.
And you learn how to cook. So I can come home. I bet like you can. You guys even plan ahead, but I can come home and in 30, 45 minutes, man, just even not knowing, I'd look around and go, I don't make something. We got veggies. We got some kind of a protein. We got some kind of a carb.
Let me ask you this.
Okay.
So Sally might say, yeah, I never did that. Or my life evolved into this fast food or eating out kind of thing. Have you taught Ian how to do that? Your 16-year-old son. Would he know how?
No, vaguely. We do have him help once in a while, but
do your olders know how?
Yeah, well, that's not fair. The girls have been out. I got girls who are killer.
Does Caleb?
No. No, by himself, he's going to eat just as
if you didn't push it, would your 15 and 16-year-old, would they be knowing how?
No.
So we've instituted, hey, it's your meal night.
Yeah,
we try. Well, we're not really instituted.
We did.
We're
and
starting.
We fell off. And yeah.
And of course, he always chooses, mac and cheese or whatever. So
I want to
but
more.
If you leave it up to them, they will not choose what we are going to call healthy.
They will go get a piece of bread and tuna or peanut butter
sandwich.
But I would too. Then obviously you got to grow into the mode. There's a coming of age of that.
But it used to be normal. It used to be more women. And my friends, in 12, 13, 14, 15, girls would often say, I have to go home and make dinner. That's my chore. I'm going home to make dinner. And I always thought like, oh yeah, you're a girl. Yeah. Like we didn't do that.
And you got to go help dad in the garage.
And I might have to go mow the lawn. Right. Yeah. But now nobody. It's not
granted, I didn't know. Well, here, I will give you this, or I feel like I was not taught how to cook as a kid, but I had a mom who did invest, and she was a good cook. She made good food. And when I went to somebody else's house, I realized, not everybody's mom or dad or whatever knows
that. That was my story too.
My dad didn't cook, never did. That's part of that generation. And so, then I became a kid, an adult, and I realized, bland. I knew about healthy food. I knew that doesn't taste good. So I did learn. So I took it upon myself. I'm grateful for the exposure to good tasting, healthy food. So I didn't have that feeling, because that's what we think of. There's a lot of America, especially, who thinks, well, here's what I like, and here's healthy food. That's good. Yeah. Healthy food is water. Yeah. So I would say so my biggest thing on that was learn how to make it well. And that made me in a life adjustment of, here you are as a doctor with your busy practice, me with multiple businesses and, truckloads of kids and whatever, but we still patterned our lives around the margin to grocery shop, cook, learn how to cook, and do it every single day.
Right.
Every single day.
Just like everybody out there, and Sally, and we often kind of joke around about this, and we would say, she'd say, oh, I don't have enough time, or I don't have enough energy, I don't have enough know-how. And to every human, every American human, we can say, you pattern your life over every single day. You don't forget to put your clothes on.
Yeah.
You don't forget to have an awareness of how to drive. And it's you put it in as a have to, so then you do it. And you and I did that with food, with our families.
It's whatever is important enough to you, you make a priority. Now, we're supposed to sit here as personal development experts and say that in a chastising way. Though I'm sure if I went to and talked with Sally.
Wait, we're supposed to say it chastising?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Put your chastised tone in there. But I guarantee there's something in her life where she
She's
has
got
health.
a good reason.
Well, no, where she has health that I don't.
Oh.
And I would say,
her clothes are way better than your clothes.
She's got a budget and she saves money and, whatever and over here. And I'm saying, oh man, I just don't have time to deal with this. She goes, well, Kevin, whatever you make
important to you.
So we all have our stuff. So, but that is a big one. Here's another one. Christine Apple. She says, I'd have a magic pill to only eat for the nourishment my body needs for today, not next year. Stop eating for emotional reasons. And somebody else said, Jessica Grammer says, my willpower to not overindulge. Emotion. Yeah. I was going to hit off with emotional reasons. I mean, we're back to where we started with how much of food is. Oh my God! It's again. I don't even know. I say it's a drug. I'd say maybe it's one of the most emotionally charged, good and bad. You and I tend to think of it as good. My wife. And she's been outspoken about this. She grew up with the eating disorders. She was a dancer and they got looked at and judged, you're too fat, get off the stage, whatever. So she has all these negative emotions and we see that positive, negative, whatever. But just the reality of it, is there anything that has so many emotions around it? Yeah. When we think about food and think about, celebration or stress, how many kids were sat at the table every night to have dad chastise the heck out of them, verbally abuse. I mean, they hate mealtime. And now, we got kids, they never want to sit at a dinner table because it was hell. And
you see that on TV all the time, the family dinner and it's chaos. Mm-hmm. And,
fear
or kids that are misbehaved or slopping around. Right.
Oh, I see that at the restaurants, man. It's another reason we don't go to restaurants much is because invariably some kid's going to be over here climbing on the chandeliers. It's not worth the stress that it does for me.
I comment on that a lot for people with not eating disorders per se down the psychological side, but the physiologic eating disorder, that if you're at a table of stress with somebody you in the moment don't love and are not looking forward to this, and there's not the positive emotional side, the signal, or if, distant and aggressive dad is over here pounding on the table about whatever he's griping about, the signal to that 8-year-old is not one of digestion. It's right. And so if you go to the extremes, fight or flight, fear, faint, fail. And over here, the opposite of that is rest and digest. And that biochemical reality, so many people, when we're in the clinic talking about gassy, bloated, constipation, diarrhea, whatever the issue there, it is related to what you eat, but it's also related to the context that it's eaten in. So back to her emotions, the both is like you and I'm already looking forward to dinner, not because I stuffed my face with a whatever, but just the everythingness of it. It's
just the end of the day and family, and it's goodness. Thank God.
Thank God. Absolutely. And I'm sort of passionate about this because we are teaching adults, 30, 40-year-old people. They don't know how to set a table. I don't mean knives and forks. I mean ambiance.
Yeah.
And do you remember the French paradox?
Yeah.
Which still exists, right? So here's the French who live longer with less hypertension, less problems, and they're eating foie gras and a bottle of wine every night and all of this.
And my daughter was over there. She says, oh my gosh, it's like 10 o'clock and we're just getting ready to eat.
Right. And it's French bread, the whitest white bread you could ever eat. And they don't have
and wine and cheese
and why is that? And it is a paradox, but the theory is, it's the ambiance.
Wouldn't that be interesting? That'd be an interesting, long-term study of here's a family with music, like we do, music and candles and laughter and encouragement at the table and a fire and all this stuff, eating mediocre fare, maybe even bad, processed. Over here, perfect food and stress and anxiety and worry.
Orthorexia.
Yeah.
Like perfect food for people that are worried about not eating imperfect food.
Or just a toxic environment, and to see the difference. It's like that old meme that we talk about where it showed the two ladies both in their 50s. One's the vegan, whatever, looks like she's 80, and the other one looks like she's 30, and she's like the chocolate lady. I can't remember what chocolate it was. Some famous person. Yeah. Yeah, totally. I mean, so yeah, to look at the emotion, that'd be a great exercise, or not exercise, just a pondering thing for everybody listening to think, how have the emotions around food, what have you been exposed to from your childhood? What was it like then? What was it? I mean, oh my God, we talk about that a lot. My youngest, adopted, we just went through her story with her, and where she was initially left without food. So as an infant, she'd be left in a car seat. She was neglected for nobody knows how long with nothing, crying in a soiled diaper, no food at all, hungry. And then ends up where she was neglected again in a better environment, but still neglected, and left with chocolate milk and saltine crackers at all 24 hours a day. I mean, the stuff around, it's just, we'll never, it's gonna be a long time before we even know what emotions she has around, food. But I mean, to think about what were the emotions around food, probably from your upbringing is probably the biggest programming. And then how have they been? And of course, now we all know the idea of the comfort food at night, or the comfort food when you're sad, or for me, it's every day's a celebration. There's always something to celebrate. Let's have, fun food, but it's always these emotions.
I noticed it in my kids, the comfort food when you're bored.
Yeah.
I mean, we hit the afternoon, they just got done playing with something, we're transitioning to something else, and they say, can I have some? If we had been doing 10 other lists of whatever things, you would not have thought about food. You're not hungry. And then we go into the battle of snacks.
The one that I hate is if you give in and say, okay, it's Saturday. You know what? Just have screens as much as you want. They won't eat.
No, they won't eat.
They'll be up there playing their stuff, playing together and laughing. It's great, but then they won't eat. And then of course you say, hey, do some chores or read a book or whatever.
They can't
5
do it
minutes later.
snack.
I'm hungry, and they're perusing around. Yeah. So man, there's so much. I mean, we can't do justice to emotions.
We can't, but for Sally, what she meant there was the emotional eating, or somebody said the emotional eating. And I think on the medical side there, and what our conversation is doing is don't shut that down. Give vent to it and retrain. That's what we're to the positive emotions.
Yeah.
Like you and I have always said, holy cow, I hated vegetables growing up and mustard and these things. And I'm just amazed at how much I enjoy them. And that was cultivated. And now I'm grateful for that. But if I shifted over and went back to McDonald's and fast food and MSG and whatever else, I would lose it. And so where people are you've got to start somewhere. You've got to start, but it isn't. It's so hard to just shut that emotional piece down.
Yeah.
And what I think we're saying is take a different tack maybe, and open up the positive, like we're trying to do around water, or like you're trying to do around tea. I'm really trying to like tea.
Yeah.
And okay, you start somewhere.
Well, and this gets into because I sometimes have struggled with the hoodoo guru. That you can get around. It's like meditating around your food and I'm like, come on, give me a break. But then I watch, I'm really doing it. I mean, you and I, we haven't done it in a while. Most afternoons though, we're going to get our food, go sit on the deck. And I love that. And it's like a ceremonial deep breath. There's the mountain, how you doing? What happened over the weekend, whatever. And then, dinner time is that, but yeah, what are the triggers for the emotional eating? I think I just like the idea of discerning what are your emotions around eating overall? What have they been historically? What are they today? And then looking at what you want them to be.
Kevin, when you say that, it's deeper than you think. Remember when we had the Muse lady?
Ariel Garten, right?
And
founder of Muse,
and her whole point, because you said,
oh right,
yeah, right. It's simply the recognition of my desire, of instead of mindlessly shoving something in your mouth because of you recognize, even if you are emotionally eating. Well, recognition is number one.
Recognition. Yeah. I asked her, I said, okay, so I'm thinking about if I'm going to meditate during the day, should I think about, should I do it when I'm thinking of, I realize I'm anxious and I should do it then, or should I wait till I'm more calm? And she said, thank God you're even thinking about it.
Right.
Score one
that you recognize an anxious moment.
Yeah.
That you don't just pell-mell plow through the day. And of course we're conscientious of law and those kind of things, but where people are mindless, is in, and I would say the snacks, right? We just raise our kid with this mindless snacking, and of course they're going to become a snacker. And in our fast club, where we've got people who are doing the fast thing.
Yeah.
And even when, these guys are over 70, and I said, hey, snacks don't exist. Like, the snack's not a word. And he was like, yes, it is. Stop that. It's okay. But now he can never, ever again for the rest of his life say that he's never contemplated the idea of no snacks.
He's gonna either have something healthy, or he's just gonna. Now you just made it worse, because now he's just gonna feel guilty for his snacks, and you just made his life worse. Which that happens. I mean, that literally happens.
Where you start.
Sometimes our awareness is like, I wish I did it's the Matrix. Ignorance is bliss.
We call it the bliss abyss.
Okay, well, there you go. Yeah,
I'd rather live in the bliss abyss.
I'll say that with food. I've gotten to the point where, my body's efficient. I want to enjoy my food. If I'm on the run and I'm just I'm not going to eat.
You and I, we had that San Antonio trip, we ate a donut or something, remember?
Well, that was fun. I took advantage of that. It was fun. Got up my coffee and whatever. But yeah, the thing, when I see people just mindlessly eating in the car or whatever, I think, oh, man, I do enjoy food more than that. So I have no use for the energy stuff and the power bars and the
right. No, I don't want a quick energy fix. I want to wait. I'm like, why would I ruin my dinner?
Yeah, I've done that so often. Hey, you want this snack or this? Oh man, I want to save it for
hunger. Is the best cook.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Well, so you mentioned, I just wanted to. It was episode 45 with Ariel Garten. Yeah, she is the founder of Muse, and it was just a good show on multiple levels. But I wanted to look too at of course, we always talk about him, Dr. Benjamin Hardy, and willpower doesn't work. Again, to look at the emotions of when do you succumb to what Christine or Jessica are saying. Is this emotional eating? Is it the late night TV? Well,
absolutely.
What do you do? I mean, cut out TV, or can you upgrade it? And the first thing is get rid of the things that you indulge in. So you're hungry and all you got some celery, and knock yourself out. I mean, I know that stinks, but for me, last night I did that. I had a really long, fairly full day last night, and I plopped down on the couch and I did want something. I had a handful of dark chocolate covered almonds. So it was a little sugar content, and then just had some nuts, some salted nuts. Might have been better if I didn't have anything, but I was emotionally eating. Thank goodness for elevating that to something better than a
bag of M&Ms,
bowl of ice cream, and something's going to wreck my sleep, and yada yada. So to look at that and maybe do going back to a fast, but a fast from X. I am so benefited. I just recently did one with alcohol. So many days without it. It just kind of reprogrammed it doesn't mean that I don't want it again, but it just kind of reprogrammed going, I don't have to have this. And I did replace it. I did a lot of Soda Stream with lime, and we got these little flavoring things and whatever. And even if it's not a perfect substitution, if it just elevates it a little bit.
That's interesting. I don't know if I told you, but I did that too. So as we're doing our fast club, inviting people into this in a camaraderie kind of a way. And so I don't need to lose 50 pounds like they do. And I'm doing one meal a day and they're doing a different kind of thing. But for me, the biggest thing for January, February, March was not doing wine. And I just took a different tack this time, and we had a ski trip and a birthday and whatever. So there was a month of not, and then there was a weekend of having wine. And what you just said really hit with me. I noticed as we were getting into the month, I don't have to have that. The dinner is still it's still joyful, it's still event, it's still this other stuff. We play around with the bubbly water. But in order to get there, it was going through the decision and the frustration process of, I just want it. What's wrong with this? It's my own little vice. It's my own little, and for me to protect wine, and here's the other thing I did notice. I don't think I shared this with you, but we were playing around with our watches and the sleep thing and the oxygenation and all of that. So now twice I have proven, and you can see it even that one weekend, so my sleep grade without wine, and the other thing that I was doing is way less carbs like we talked about.
Yeah.
And so I make now We used to make 3 cups of rice, and now we make 1 1/4.
Wow.
And in the bottom of the rice maker, it's like, oh my gosh, is there enough rice in there? And if I eat last, if everybody else gets their fill and I just have a normal helping, and it's just not there, I can't do it. So less carb, less full, and no wine. And my sleep grades are 20% better.
Wow.
From not bad to I'm getting in the 90s on that thing. And so there's that feedback motivation of seeing the pattern of it and seeing the willpower of, for that one, just don't buy it.
Yeah.
Just don't buy it. I had Marcy, she was at Costco, which has, good wine now. And I said, yeah, get a Cabernet, but don't tell me where it is. Just stick it somewhere. Mm-hmm. And so, it feels bad to talk that way about wine, because wine is one of those things that many people, it's destroyed them.
Right.
But so many people out there are talking that way about, but it's just fast food. I don't have time or sugar is the number 1 drug in the world. Well, and their little sweet tooth.
Well, that was the next one. Judy Hicks, stop craving sugar. I mean, that's got to be. We are that's one where we want to think everybody knows, but I think we don't know how much sugar. I'll tell you, one of the best things to do there, just for awareness, is to do a sugar fast. It changed my life. I did one eons ago because I was just, pounding. I was still racing bikes and that's what got me drinking black coffee finally, is because I used to put sugar in there, but I just wasn't aware. And if you're eating anything processed, anything that comes in a package or a box, you've got to be militant to look at the sugar content, and it'll blow you away to see, especially, we talked about this last show, I think, the healthy foods that have such a high sugar content. And in in quotes, the health food industry is some of the worst, because they're looking for anything that they can put any kind of a health badge on and then load it with sugar so it tastes good. Yeah. Sugar, or even the other sweeteners. And there's, the show that I did with, that we did with, I was on tea, Adi, which, let me see what number that was. We did the one on tea with, Adi Arazzini. She's, Teamy Blends, a tea. It was episode 57, and her talking about, she's one of the biggest gut culprits is soda, both kinds, sugar or diet. And that it finally convinced me, because we had been doing, that was kind of a treat, is diet soda, because I didn't like the sugar. And she's saying it doesn't, both evils. And we did away, we did away with that, but we just want that sweet taste. Talk about an addiction and a drug.
That's what I was just going to bring up, that somebody says, oh, I have a sugar craving. And so 2 points to make there is, yes, craving is the right word, and the emotional connection, but also, especially as we say, well, just do a sugar elimination, it is an addictive physiology that is equivalent to cocaine. And people argue maybe even more so, but to acknowledge the difficulty of it, the radical, real addiction of it, and maybe even harder, because it's not illegal, it's accepted. And
here my story that I like is my brother. Years ago, well over a decade now, but I used to say, I don't have a sweet tooth, man. I have a sweet belly. It's way beyond a sweet tooth. I could there's nobody could pound high amounts of sugar like I could. And at the time, I remember him one time saying, man, it's weird. We're brothers, but I just don't have that. Well, he was an alcoholic. He was killing himself. He ended up in the hospispittal with his pancreas shut down?
Yeah.
Is that right? Mm-hmm. Alcohol. Now he's been sober for a decade or more than that. And now that he's sober, he says, yeah, I got a sweet tooth. I mean, it comes, and I switched with him, didn't become an alcoholic, but I started drinking alcohol I never had, and realized, I don't have as much craving for, the sugar. It's all sugar. So I'm still
sugar content.
Yeah, exactly. And you and I, man, I never finish lunch or dinner without the expectation in my head going ding, 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 ding. And I'm going to do dark chocolate, not that much sugar, but it's still, I was back to my beginning. I'm still getting the dopamine hit.
Yeah.
I'm still looking for the hit. I've elevated my appetite, but I am. But yeah, back to sugar. That is, I think what you said, probably the most Is there, if we were to take away one drug, one food, I would take away sugar before alcohol, meth, cocaine.
Yeah.
We're all worried about
that argument can be strongly made that if we were a morally consistent people, we would have to outlaw sugar.
We would have the candy aisle
Yeah.
Behind the counter.
Well, that's right. Or only over 18, show your driver's license, all this other kind of stuff. And I think we said last time, if another country dropped, unawares the kind of food that we're feeding our kids and that we're feeding, we would declare war. It's an act of war. And so our culture, and I don't want to blame business, I don't want to blame whatever, because, you don't have to buy it.
It's commerce, man. If I got a food company, I can get you to eat more with sugar. Is that immoral? Not really. You're the one choosing to do it.
Right. Okay. And Peter Attia says it like this. I think is a good awareness too, that if you optimize food production for cost, longevity, convenience, you have the standard American diet.
Yeah.
And back in the so the great shift in all of this occurred over the shift of World War I, World War II, Great Depression. Pre-World War I, it was 70+% agrarian. People had cows and farms and gardens. And post-World War II, 50s and all that, it's now quickly going to hardly any agrarian. And the shift in the culture. And at that time, they had this giant war-making machine, and they optimized for, we got to get out of the Depression, and we optimized for cost, convenience, and logistics, travel, to get blueberries at 8,000 feet. Back when I was a kid in the 1970s, there was, we moved to Germany. My dad, they didn't have peanut butter. I mean, imagine that. Just there, we would go.
It's immoral.
It's immoral. And that's exactly how people thought. So they optimized for logistics and got cheap peanut butter all over the world. And now if you went around and we actually do, because that was Jiffy and whatever else, and it had to not spoil, and you don't want the oil to rise to the top, and it had a lot of sugar in it. And so now we've immorally put in these other things into quote unquote peanut butter that is now harming people.
Yeah.
But to get out of that, you de-optimize, number one, cost.
Yeah.
And convenience. We just talked about that. People say, you mean you make your food every day?
My kids had peanut butter. I don't know where it came into the house, and they opened it up and said, "There's no oil on top. What's wrong with this?" It's all they're used to. Yeah,
it's funny.
And matter of fact, we made stir fry last night, and I did peanut Thai sauce, and I used the peanut oil that we pour off some of the top of our natural peanut butter. It's funny though. I want to hit on what you said about another place outside of America. When I moved to Holland, racing bikes, went over there the first meal, and you sit down and here's the meal. And it's this little bitty, it's like a shot glass. That's my water glass. I'm like, this is dumb. We literally, because I was so arrogant and uncoachable at the time, we had cups. We went and found big cups somewhere at a thrift store, whatever, big old cups, and brought them and set them down. We're Americans. A big cup of water or soda or milk or whatever. And they're like, what are you talking about? You don't dilute your digestion.
It's so unhealthy.
Yeah.
Like, you guys don't know.
You guys don't know. I thought for all this on food, and I know that this is a struggle for people. And again, they're going to talk about time and effort and know-how. And I get it. And it's not fair for us. We have the privilege of having been exposed to this for a long time, to where now we got big families and businesses and whatever. And we have figured out.
I was going to say, you and I have worked tens of years
to get to the point to where we have home cooked, healthy food, every single day. That's not the norm. A lot of people didn't grow up with that. It's a handicap, we could say.
Yeah.
But to get into the idea of, instead of thinking, I'm not going to eat sugar, I'm going to, deprive myself of all this stuff, just to think, how can you start taking steps and buying? If you can do it all in one fell swoop, great. If you need to do baby steps, but trying not to buy any pre-made or processed food. You buy whole ingredients, and you have to make everything. I have had my kids at home at the weekends. We do sweets on S days. So Saturday and Sundays, when they go, okay, it's Saturday, you know what it is? I say, man, I'm not going to make anything, guys. If you want to make something, go for it. Often somebody will finally go, whatever. They don't want to make it. Now, if it was sitting there, a bowl of M&Ms, they would do it. But because they have to make it, they have to get out a mix, a brownie, whatever brownies made, flour and cocoa and sugar. It does have sugar, but
Think of 100 years ago, Mars and Mr. Mars and whoever made the first M&M. Think of 100 years ago. You've been in Holland and Belgium. Did you ever go to a chocolatier?
Oh my gosh.
Okay,
awesome.
well, that used to be, it was the nectar of the gods, right? Only kings got this stuff. But we optimized, and now we have Hershey's. And now we have, it jumps in your mouth. And so this $1 trillion system has made it, it's brilliant. That the child of 1900 got a small chocolate bar once a year for Christmas, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
And now it's considered a normal after-school snack.
Yeah.
Every day, all the time. And I want to say that the immorality of that is not any one person's single fault. We can't blame the economy. We can't blame.
I'm disappointed at commerce for exploiting our appetites and helping, easily feed us this junk, and the government subsidies that actually make it a lot possible too. I am upset about that.
Well, but hang on. If you strip that down and go backwards to Mr. Hershey, you think he was exploitive?
No.
He just wanted to give the kid a bar of chocolate at a decent cost.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
That's moral. But somewhere in we're all immoral people to some degree. And so then this will be a good place to end, because it is the crux of the issue. It's not immoral to have that little piece of chocolate. We're not even hinting that at all. But there's something, and that's what we're saying, is be aware of why you do what you do. And then there is all of us have a better way to engage with chocolate, to upgrade the appetite, to shift towards what we said at the beginning, a hedonistic idea that actually creates goodness. I want to thrive on more kindness. Like the one scripture that says, outdo one another in showing honor. Mm-hmm. Well, does that mean to curse the other guy out, to say, well, I'll shove you into the ground by honoring you? Oh, no, it's a play on words, and the idea of if we all outdid ourselves in trying to select the best possible kind of nutrition, and what's best for the earth.
Yeah.
And we can't even hardly contemplate
that's right.
that.
And that's exactly what I was thinking again about, why do we not treat ourselves like the star athlete? I mean, there's on my run through town here, there's a little pen where they keep these 2 swayback horses. I doubt they're just feeding them whatever the heck they'll eat. Over in Lexington, Kentucky, with the $5 million thoroughbred horse, what is it eating? It's eating the perfect food. Why do we do that to ourselves? Same thing we talk about cars. My old Suburban, put whatever in it that it chug along at 2 miles an hour and go 0 to 60 and never. I don't think it'll hit 60 at this point. But man, if you got a Porsche or Ferrari, we're going to give it the primo, or a race car primo. So why don't we do that with ourselves? So to look at the food as, man, this is healthy. This is the building blocks of my day. This is how I'm going to perform, is what I put in there. And so again, to put back there, I know it sounds all altruistic, but if you're forced to make your food, all you got at home is the natural foods that are going to rot, that are going to spoil, that you've got to put together. And if you want sugar, fine, but you got to go over there and mix the ingredients and bake it and wait for it.
Don't buy the prepackaged, preprocessed stuff.
Yeah. Even the mixes. Don't even get the mixes. Go buy the raw.
Make your own brownies.
Most people don't even know what the raw ingredients for brownies are. You got flour and
homemade brownies from Brownie Mix.
Yeah. You just dump it in, add an egg, whatever. Even that though is a step up. Yeah. Even that is a step up than you buy the thing, the brownies are already made. Cookies are already in the package. The ice cream's already in the thing. If you have to make it, it's so significant.
Yeah.
I hope you found some perspective today that, one, gives you some peace about food and your eating habits, and 2, you feel hope for gaining more control over your food and your eating in your life. Friends, thank you for tuning into Self-Helpful, where I curate the sea of new personal development materials and help you integrate wisdom into your life, because we all want to elevate our own experience and improve the way we show up for others.